is fooled by the claim that it's not.
And Dr. Rera, who is on our steering committee, indicates that Measure-G has made a mockery of medical marijuana in Mendocino County. The current 25 plant allowance plus 2 pounds of marijuana far exceeds any medical purpose. And he goes on to say, 6 marijuana plants, indoor or outdoor, will produce at least double that amount and more than meet the compassionate needs of seriously suffering patients in Mendocino County.
It is 25 plants commercial. It depends on a lot of variables. We say absolutely not. 25 plants is different. Is it indoor? Is it outdoor? Are you talking about a once-a-year cycle? Are you talking about particular varietals? 25 plants can yield 25 ounces. I want to say that smoking marijuana, how much can people smoke? Research has shown that the medicinal effects are not best obtained by smoking. Most patients don't use it to smoke. They vaporize, they use edibles, and they make tinctures. And so you can't say how much is it going to amount to 25 plants, 25 pounds. It could be 25 plants, 25 ounces. How much is sufficient should be addressed by a physician.
If they talk about urban legends or urban myths, that 1 pound per plant is an herbal myth. Anyone who's ever grown marijuana, if they get a 1 pound plant, they know that, wow, they had a full light situation. They attended to the nutrients and the fluid requirements perfectly, and God shined his blessings upon it. You can grow 25 plants, and you're more likely, since we squeeze them in, we hide them, we camouflage them, and we don't have full light situations, and we're not all master gardeners. Actually, if we get a 1/4 pound, we're feeling pretty good. So 24 or 25 plants, even knowing that you never get all females. You think it's a female, but it's not. So you could get 3 or 4 pounds of pot, and that's really good. And that's enough to meet your needs. And maybe that's enough to meet your needs of your spouse, but you're not going to get rich off of that. But that 1 pound per plant, I've heard 2 pound per plant, that's just a myth. That's not a reality. And in indoor cultivation, you get an ounce or 2.
And how much is sufficient, Peter? I just want to remind folks, is 8 ounces sufficient for people with a medical condition?
And the answer to that question is no.
It's amazing when you hear the proponents talk publicly how difficult marijuana is to grow. When they're in a personal conversation one-on-one, they will brag to you about how much they grew. But in public, it's very difficult, almost impossible. But again, we think the question of how much marijuana should a patient have is best left to that patient and their physician. And we all know that the 25 plants is a commercial amount.
No comment.
40, Yes on B Coalition issued a press release today with 40 medical doctors signing on in favor of Yes on B. This is not because they're against patients' rights or against people having the medicine they need. It's because they realize the current situation is out of control. Measure-B restores balance.
All right. I think they've got, if you want to rebuttal, you have one more.
It doesn't, I would just say that it doesn't restore balance, it goes backwards, and it criminalizes and creates a whole entire new criminal class. And I understand that people have a concern, and that's perhaps why the physician signed on, but I think that when we realize what Measure-B doesn't do, and then we realize what Measure-B does in fact do that's egregious, that creates outlaws out of people like us and people like you know, then they're going to be more informed about it, and I believe that it will be defeated.
All right. The opponents of Measure-B have said that enforcement of Measure-B will be a burden on law enforcement, but has called for enforcement of existing laws. Please explain where the resources will come to comprehensively enforce the existing laws.
If we're going to reduce the limits, our own guidelines from 25 to 6, it seems logical to understand that law enforcement is going to be doing more work, not less work. We're going to be investigating smaller gardens. We have a lot of serious issues in the county. Methamphetamine is one of them. Public safety, domestic violence. We want to point our deputies in the direction where the crimes are, not going around and diverting the resources that we need them to do the real work, looking at people's small backyard gardens.
You have lots of time. You're good?
I'll think.
You're good?
I mean, can you repeat exactly what that question is? There's a couple, maybe another component we can talk about.
Just that you're promoting that Measure B will put a burden on enforcement, and yet you say that they need to enforce the existing laws.
It's who gets arrested. That's what we're talking about. The people that have 25 or fewer plants should not be arrested. That's what we said as a community. The people who have more, who are in violation of the law, which are clearly on the books, those folks should be arrested, and we encourage that and work as a community toward that. To reduce and roll back is just going to create a larger group of criminals, people who are currently doing it legally.
If we were working on a tax and regulate, or if we were encouraging dispensaries so we collect sales taxes, then I'd have an answer. Oh, I know how we're going to fund the extra law enforcement. We're going to do it through tax and regulate and sales tax. But at this point, all I can say is, yeah, it's a tough job for law enforcement when there are that many criminals out there and they don't have the resources yet. For us to then say, here's a whole other area of folks you have to go after, well, that puts more work on them. And as I said in my opening comment, the police naturally are going to go after the low-hanging fruit. The small-time growers, they are peaceful. They don't cause problems when they're handcuffed. It's the hardened criminals they don't want to mess with.
Okay?
Despite 2 attempts, the no on B side has failed to answer the question. The question was, they say that no on B will be a burden on law enforcement. They also say law enforcement should go after the large commercial growers. The question was, if enforcing Measure B would be a burden, where would the resources come to enforce the existing laws against the large growers? They don't come up with any answer.
The same place they come from now.
I think we need to send a clear message to the sheriff and the district attorney that we do want them to enforce the laws against commercial growers and against people who are endangering public safety and trashing the environment. Once the sheriff and the district attorney have this message, they will allocate the necessary resources. In the short term, this will require more of their time, but instead of having an ever-escalating ratio of crime, this will actually reduce it to manageable levels, and the small growers will be protected. People who are not endangering public safety and trashing the environment are not going to be reported to the sheriff. The sheriff has made clear they do not go after small grows now. They will not, even if Measure B passes. They will not change.
Please break down the audience.
There are exceptions to every rule, and that didn't come out of my time. But the focus of the sheriff will continue to be investigating violent crime and going after large growers and those who are endangering public safety. You got 15 seconds.
Please, audience, let's give everybody time to talk. We'll listen quietly so we can all answer. Okay, rebuttal if you like. You have a minute.
Wow. I lost my train of thought.
Well, the sheriff and the district attorney do go after small personal use growers. So I just want to tell you that from personal experience. What we want to do is we want to point them in the right direction. We want to point them in the direction of the commercial growers, the criminals. Now, do the criminals